welcome on back to the Planning Pulse. My name is Beau Mellon, co-hosted as with my good friend Matt Harvison. Today, we're going to be covering a little bit of a new topic. Now, Matt, we've done a lot of episodes around adaptive functionality related to
Mhm.
an FP&A team. We've done a lot of podcasts related to HRIS team and workforce planning implementations, and what
Yep.
what value can you get from that? Well, I am really excited because now we're going to be covering sales planning in our new mini series, something that, we at Active Cyber, now Ocorio, really enjoy talking about, Matt. And so I'm fired up to dive into sales planning in this new mini series that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think something that's really important that gets missed is a lot of times when you think of workday adaptive planning, you think of financial planning. Folks are starting to think about it for workforce planning as well. But a big miss that we see sometimes is for just sales planning, right? So top down, bottoms up, quota setting, capacity. So we're excited to start the mini series on these particular subjects. And Bo, like you said, really fired up for this one.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And much like anything else we do, whatever we do adaptive projects with a lot of our customers, right? It's where do we want to start? And where we want to start is making sure we're integrating to the appropriate systems, right? Whereas finance implementation, right, that's probably a CRM or an ERP system. Workforce, we're probably hooking up to your HRIS or an applicant tracking system. When we're doing these sales planning projects, Matt, a lot of times we're hooking up to Salesforce or HubSpot or Exactly or Clary or Captivate IQ,
100%.
or
Yeah.
sending data out to Tableau or Power BI, right? And so it's a whole kind of another mind frame and mind state to get into when we're doing these projects. And the fact that adaptive, we can really connect to all of them and plan for whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. You hit it right there on the head is that you want to connect to whatever source system that you need in order to plan. But one of the great things about adaptive, especially if you're thinking about adopting sales planning side by side with financial planning, is the ability to pass data back and forth between multiple instances as well. So
Yeah.
whether you're using adaptive today for financial planning or workforce planning, layering in sales planning could just make that much stronger for you. So I'm excited to hop in. I may just start sharing my screen and let's
Do
dive
it.
straight into some of the content for us today. So, as you can see on the screen here, we've got our annual bookings plan pulled up. This is inside of our sales planning environment. Again, you can see sales planning right here. It shows us a nested instance between financial planning, workforce planning, sales planning. That's going to give us the ability to perform the planning process and send the data back to our financial planning team. Why are we sending data back to financial planning? Most commonly, your sales planning is going to be done by a revenue forecasting team, a rev ops team, sales directors, completely different team that does not need to be involved inside of the financial planning environment. Not only that, but frequency in which they plan is going to be done differently as well. That's why we see maybe some differences in terms of our version management. Again, we've hit on versions a lot. Versions inside of FP&A are really monthly and quarterly reforecasts. Inside of sales planning, it could be your annual forecast, could be maybe a mid-year revisit, could be what if scenarios as well. So planning is done a little bit differently for the sales planning team. Again, when we think of our level structure, it's not following cost centers or departments. It's going to follow more of your sales teams, regionally based. So, a little bit of difference in planning between financial planning, even workforce planning, and sales planning. So, that's why we see the need typically for an extra environment, but we can pass information back and forth. Now, for the first episode of this mini series, we want to start high level and get into how do we set what our annual bookings target is going to be? And then how do we marry that with our quota assumptions? After that, we'll dig into bottoms up capacity planning to ensure that the quota targets that we're setting are accurate. We'll also get into looking at SE and BDR assignment as well. But for today, inside of our annual bookings plan, we just want to come in immediately and start to see, okay, here's our actual bookings target for the year. Are we coming up short? Yes, we're coming up short. So how are we going to have to adjust maybe our quota assumptions or our capacity to be able to achieve what our bookings target is? Quickly with these KPIs, we can see, okay, last year with this green represents historic actuals. We achieved 40. Right now we're looking at 53 or this year over year growth number. So high level KPIs to give you insight into what your planned data is going to look like. So that gives you a little bit of insight as you're going into, making these adjustments. Now we're coming up short right now from where we expected to be from our targeted bookings. So we can make adjustments to our target. Maybe if we wanted to go to, not 600 million, but maybe I'll get rid of one zero and do $60 million. So we can make adjustments, make tweaks, make edits, however we see fit to our bookings targets. But a lot of times, whenever we have these booking targets that have been given to us, finance doesn't want us to make any adjustments to those. So you can go in, maybe we're higher or lower on adjustment because we think that we're going to be higher or lower, and then communicate that back to the business as well. So bookings targets, simple inputs, simple adjustments, and then you can see the immediate impact to that top down versus bottoms up gap. Okay. Now, when we think of the bottoms up, we start to layer in expectations for our team and what our team is going to be able to achieve. So we start to think about, okay, these particular teams or this part of our organization is going to achieve these percentages. How are those percentages determined? Could be off of historic data as well. You have the ability to put in formulas that just refers to historic splits, or again, could be manual inputs like you see here, the difference between 8 and 10% or 10 and 8%. So that's the basis for regionally splitting what our quota achievement expectations are. Now, when we get into the quota assumptions or get into setting our sort of bottoms up quota assignment, a couple of different ways that we can do that we're going to illustrate here for you today. The first is by coming in and identifying our market segments, and then over a period of time, looking what our quota assumptions are going to be. Now, these assumptions, Beau, I know we talk about them a lot. It could be based off of historic data. It could be a manual input based on what we believe is achievable for the team. But ultimately, what we want to have is the ability for our team to come and say, instead of 600,000, maybe it's 700,000. How do I want to break that back? Do I want to input any type of seasonality? Do we have seasonality within the products that we offer, so that we need to front load or back load what our quota expectations are going to be? Similarly, if we wanted to make any adjustments, make any tweaks, we could continue doing that. In this case, just starting very high level, this is what it could look like if we were going to change. Now, we can see automatically an update to what our gap was. So now we're getting a little bit closer to the range. So we can continue tweaking, continue editing what our quota assumptions are going to be from that high level. Now, another way that we can get into this, but this is one that we're starting to see more and more frequently, or at least I am as I'm going through these conversations, is we want to forecast specific products by specific reps, and we want to be able to layer in historic achievement of those reps and then have some overrides as well. So when we think about historic achievement, what that looks like. So in this example, Alex Knapp, who's historically done any type of renewal or farmer-based sales, has products, and here's historic actuals that have been generated via machine learning forecasts. We know that this is what we can expect Alex to get on a product by product basis. Now I could go in and layer in and tweak and say maybe it's 50,000 instead of 459, save those changes. We can go in and make those tweaks, make those edits as we see to get our quota assignment output here for this particular rep. So really a little bit more granularity than we had with that high level that we talked about there, Beau. So going in, instead of just saying all SMB reps are going to achieve 700,000, we're going to say that we're doing this on a person by person, product by product, even type by type. Is it a net new sale? Is it continued sales? Is it follow-on sales? So you can continue to layer that in. Okay.
Yeah, I like doing it that way, Matt, because a lot of people want to apply basically quota across the company based on market segment, but then it's different, right? Is it existing customer base? Is it net new? Is it by product? Or also maybe do we have some particular way overachievers that need their own custom quota, right? Like there's a lot of use cases for having a granular quota assignment based on how many reps you'll have.
100%. I think you hit a big note there too. It's based on how many reps you all have. If you've got, some of our customers have hundreds and hundreds of reps. Automating some of that process through machine learning forecasts may be the best way to do that. If you've got less than that, or maybe you've just got a handful, maybe let's start with that baseline assumption and then do overlays on an individual basis as well. A lot of different options available as we get into looking at the capacity side in our future series. We're going to layer in showing what those overlays look like on an individual by individual basis and how that can correspond with the high level quota assignment as well. As you can see, when we put our quota assignment in, we can start to even factor in additional information, looking at productivity across accounts, looking at attrition that we're going to forecast. Do we think that we're going to lose reps throughout the course of the year? All of these are factors that we want to consider as we're looking from our top-down target to our quota setting and alignment. From here is where we're going to move into our series for next week, our next episode for next week. It's going to be that capacity planning side. So as we look at our reps that are maybe forecasted for attrition and backfills to be able to hit that top down versus bottoms up gap, that's where we're going to be going next week. But this is just an introduction to what it looks like to crawl inside of sales planning, inside of Workday Adaptive Planning.
That was solid, Matt. That was solid. Great intro of sales planning. I really enjoyed demoing it. Like I've talked about it when we talked about our workforce uh mini series as well, but since adaptive is supposed to be used for the entire organization, right? Over time, we get to speak to so many different departments, and it's a fun part about our job, right? Fun part about our job. Yeah. And so in our next episode, we'll be diving deeper, and in that one, I'll be demoing. So I'm excited to take the screen share away from Matt, even though he does a marvelous job. But yeah, guys, we're excited for this new mini series on sales planning. Matt, anything else from you before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, 100%. I think that just driving home the point that adaptive is not just for financial planning. You
Yeah,
can layer in other parts of your organization, do cross-departmental functional planning, and then communicate that back and forth. It's meant to be a collaborative tool across all departments. So I'm really excited for this mini series to take it a little step further and showing what does customization for sales planning look like inside of adaptive. So I'm really looking forward to this series. It's been on our radar for a long time, and I'm happy that we finally gotten a chance to do it.
love it. Love it. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Acorio YouTube channel. We'll see you guys in the next one. You can plan on it.